What is the Ogun State government doing precisely about Arepo? We understand that so much violence has erupted from there. As a matter of fact, killings have happened, and the major activities that's been carried out there, which is illicit, is oil bunkering. What is the Ogun State government doing to curb the menace and excesses of militancy there?
It is important to put things in proper perspective in order to do justice to this inquiry. As you know, policing is an exclusive matter. It is the responsibility of the federal government, led by President, to provide security for all Nigerians. And operationally, the Inspector General of Police is the head of the police, and he gives instructions to the Commissioner of Police, who are supposed to, maintain law and order in their respective areas of jurisdiction. The governor of a state is the chief security officer of the state. That's only in name, because he does not have control over the police, does not have control over the army, he does not have control over the security, forces as it were. But, a governor would not raise up his hands and say he will not do anything. Pursuant thereto and determined to protect the lives of people, secure their lives and property, Ogun State government, under the able leadership of Senator Biokunle Amosun, set up the Security Trust Fund, and huge amount of money, huge resources have been committed thereto. Now, in conjunction with Nigerian police, we have done a lot of work in that area, and that can be attested to by the award given to Ogun State government as the second or third most secure state in Nigeria. Having said that, the Arepo insecurity forms part of the general insecurity that is buffeting the Nigerian state. And how do you fight insecurity? As far as I know, it contains of a carrot and stick approach. You must enforce your laws, you must implement your laws. But again, you have to look at the unemployment that is ravaging the society. They say an idle mind is a devil's workshop. If we don't provide employment for our teeming youths, we're going to have a lot of challenges on our hands. That's not to say that anybody is condoning criminality, but from a sociological point of view, when you are waging war against criminals, you must look into, critically for that matter, into why these people are pushed into committing acts of criminality. It's work in progress. We are not going to rest on our ass. We will continue to engage them. But we must address the fundamental problems of unemployment, because it is fueling insecurity.
Hold on. Will this not snowball into something bigger than we expected it to be? That is how smaller units like Boko Haram started in Nigeria's northeast. That is what we also saw in the Niger Delta, starting as a small unit. But that grew to become something troublesome, not only for the states, but for the country as a whole. So what is going to happen? Do you expect this to snowball?
Certainly, if it is not nipped in the bud, it's a time bomb. You were sitting on a keg of gunpowder when people went to universities with the hope of coming out to be gainfully employed, and there are no jobs. When they are determined to make ends meet, the environment is not just clement for them to do small businesses. As you know, the state of power in Nigeria is powerless. It's totally unacceptable, and therefore areas like that must be looked into. Otherwise, it will snowball. It will not only affect one state, it's capable of consuming the whole country. It's not peculiar to Nigeria. It's the same thing all over the world. Youth unemployment, when people have nothing to do and they must make ends meet, are they going to take it to crimes?
Do you foresee, for example, that there will be a reprisal attack on the pipelines in Arepo by the vigilante groups that were initially assigned to protect the pipelines?
For me, that's an anomaly. It is total abdication of responsibility on the part of the government to engage the services of militia. I agree that vigilante services, vigilante groups can fill in the gap, can complement the government in providing security for our people, but to allow militias or entrust militias with the responsibility of maintaining pipelines is, to me, a total abdication of responsibility of the government.
Why so?
Why the regular security forces ought to be strengthened, given all necessary wherewithals, what they need to work with in order for them to be able to carry out their statutory responsibilities. It's a constitutional matter. The Nigerian Armed Forces, all the various security forces, have the responsibility to maintain law and order, and it includes but not limited to ensuring that the pipelines are secured. To assign that responsibility or entrust that responsibility to local militias, for me, it's a dangerous thing to do. It's a dangerous path to tread.
What would you subscribe then?
As I've said, you must strengthen your constitutionally recognized policing institutions, the Nigerian police, the Nigerian army, even the civil defense organizations.
Now, President Goodluck Jonathan employed the services of these vigilante groups to protect the pipelines. Do you foresee a situation whereby when this situation or this contract, if you can call it that, is taken away from the vigilante groups, do you foresee a situation whereby they would turn against the government and then attack the pipelines that they were protecting in the first place?
With due respect, I think a poor job was done of that effort. It was not properly done. As you know, Nigerian armed forces are people that are well trained, but when they are not motivated, when the necessary kits and operational materials are not made available to them, then they become very vulnerable. And that's why we're left with patronizing local militias. I agree that they can play a complementary role. We have seen instances, I mean, where I come from in Ogun State, for instance, in Shagamu, local vigilantes are up and doing. They complement the role, the services that the Nigerian police are supposed to play. But to assign that primary responsibility to them is what I am not comfortable with. It's never done.
Do you see the incoming administration in a situation whereby they discontinue the services of the vigilantes groups, say the Odua People's Congress, for example, the OPC? If they are taken off and replaced with special forces, do you feel that the government has got the capacity to pay the special forces as an incentive as they did with the OPC?
I believe if from the antecedent of the president-elect, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, who has said that he's dropping the title of general, is anything to go by, he is being tested. He had commanded the Nigerian forces before, had been military head of state. He's a man that is grounded in security. And he has publicly said that the institutions that are saddled with responsibility of maintaining law and order will be strengthened, which means that we're not going to follow the trend of the past, where members of armed forces were not adequately kitted, were not well motivated, were not well trained, equipment were not, purchased for them. If what Mr. President-elect has said is anything to go by, then we may well say bye-bye to a regime of militia being saddled with the responsibility of maintaining security or ensuring that pipelines are kept safe.
Well, you see, that's where the problem lies. What are your greatest fears? Do you not fear that the vigilante groups will revolt and attack the pipelines they were initially protecting as a means of protest?
I agree with you that that's a possibility. But again, a government has a responsibility to maintain law and order. If anybody has been denied or a contract that's been awarded for maintenance of security in and around the pipelines, it's been terminated, and they resort to acts of sabotage, that is criminal in nature. That's even a criminal act. And the government of the day will not fold its arms to allow people to sabotage its efforts simply because the government has done what it feels it must do in the circumstance.
What is the government of Ibikola Amosu doing to arrest the excesses of vigilantes or militants? As you know, that there has been a clash in which someone was killed. As a matter of fact, just days ago again, someone else again has been killed in Arepo. What do you think the governor should be doing at this time?
It will continue to interface with members of the Nigerian police who have the responsibility to maintain law and other security agencies as he has done in the past. As you know, it is work in progress. He is the chief security officer of the state. But over and above that, it is time for us to take a look at the centralization of the policing system so that the state governments that are spending a humongous amount of money to maintain the Nigerian police can have operational control over them, and then we can see enhanced maintenance of security law enforcement.
You mean security votes?
No, I'm not talking about security votes. I mean, apart from security votes, that the governor has a responsibility to expend in order to ensure that there's maintenance of security in the state. Various governments have set up security trust fund aimed at ensuring that funds are sourced from the private sector, because it is not just government alone that has responsibility. It's also part of the corporate social responsibilities of corporations that are doing businesses in Ogun State and that are making money. And they have contributed in no small measure into the account of the Security Trust Fund, which in turn the government, has used to purchase state-of-the-art equipment. As you know, we have bought armored personnel carrier, the best that you can find anywhere in Nigeria. That in itself has assisted tremendously in bringing down the crime rates in Ogun State. But the point I'm making, that may well be an ad hoc, a stopgap measure. What we need to do, as they do in other jurisdictions, is to decentralize the policing system in Nigeria. If Nigeria is a federal republic, there must be multi-layer policing. The state government must have its state police, the local government must have its own, and other communities must also be able to have their security apparatus. What I'm saying in essence is that policing is a local issue. The local people must get involved. It is difficult. It will not work for anybody to sit down in Abuja and be saddled with responsibility of maintaining law and order in Kanamoda or in Ekperu or in some far-flung places. It is a local issue, and therefore it must be treated locally.
Reports are rife that during the shootout between the militants, one of the pipeline belonging to the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, the NNPC, in the area had exploded, resulting in an inferno that lasted for several days, and the country losing huge amounts of revenue. In September 2008, MEND released a statement proclaiming that their militants had launched an oil war throughout the Niger Delta against both pipeline and oil production facilities and the Nigerian soldiers that protect them. That was soon to change to engaging the militants to protect the pipeline. Will the situation be reversed by the incoming administration of General Muhammadu Buhari is the question on the lips of industry watchers.
And that's how it's been on Roadmap. We'll be watching closely, though, over the handover period. When the pin drops, we'll let you be the first to know. I am Gimba Umar. Many thanks indeed for watching, and see you again next time.